This may be one of the weirdest stories I've ever heard. When I heard about it, I almost didn't believe it. Read the headline right there. Haverford Township closes fire company for failing to take action against volunteer allegedly affiliated with extremist group. Okay. What's the extremist group, you say? Well, you've probably seen the title of this video, so you know it's the Proud Boys. Yes, a volunteer firefighter was a Proud Boy, and so they shut the entire fire department down. How insane is that? I will stress, part of me thinks it's kind of good in some ways, because we really need to get away from the escalation in the culture war. However, I think this in the end is just an escalation of the culture war. The dude was a volunteer, man. Seriously. Okay, so apparently what happens is someone outs this guy as a Proud Boy. He resigns. The fire department says, we refuse to accept it. We don't care. And so the township shuts down the entire fire department. A volunteer fire. Okay, let's read the story. They say, Haverford Township, a local volunteer fire company, shut down after a member's ties to an extremist group surfaced. Okay, if you're going to call the Proud Boys an extremist group, no one's done that. A lot of people tried claiming the FBI did. They didn't. That's not true. But you got to call Antifa the same thing. And they're different groups. But anyway, let's read on. Haverford Township officials closed the Bon Air Fire Company after they say the fire company failed to act on the issue. Sources tell CBS 3 that not only was he a volunteer firefighter, but he was also the vice president of the fire company. Well, so he was a high up. Established in 1918, the Bon Air Fire Company has served Haverford Township, for more than a century. But on Wednesday evening, the firehouse was effectively closed. They issued a statement, so I actually have this statement they published. We'll read this in a second. But let's go back to the story. They say, at this point, the Bon Air Fire Company is out of service, and that's from the police chief, John Viola. The issue, according to township officials, has to do with one of the volunteers. On August 14th, an anonymous tip came in, saying one of the firefighters had tried to become a member of a group some believed to be extreme. So wait, he wasn't actually a Proud Boy? Sources tell CBS 3 the group is called the Proud Boys. You know what, man? Gavin McInnes has caused the world great problems. You know what? From Vice and everything Vice has done, okay, I understand he left a while ago, to the Proud Boys, it seems that things that he's done that were supposed to be kind of silly have turned into serious and real things. Talk about one of the most influential people on the planet. I'm not saying you have to like the guy, but come on, look what's going on. This is nuts. The township says the group's tenet is that they are Western chauvinists who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world and promoted closed borders, anti-political correctness, and venerating the housewife. And it was all a joke. Can you believe this? If you should watch the Joe Rogan Gavin McInnes interview where he talks about how the whole thing was a big joke where they punch each other while naming breakfast cereals, and it turned into whatever this is. The volunteer allegedly admitted in an interview at the township that he attended several of the group's gatherings and passed 2 of their 4 steps in the initiation process, including hazing, where they punch him until he names 5 breakfast cereals. The volunteer stated he had attempted to distance himself from the group in recent months. So you know what, man? There's no redemption today, right? If that was the case, we should be done with it, right? Apparently not. It was assigned to our deputy chief and did a full background investigation and found there was no criminal activity at all. So what did he do wrong? Viola says the matter was then turned over to the Board of Commissioners. The board suggested the firefighter resign. He tried to, but the Bon Air Fire Company board refused his resignation. So on Wednesday night, township officials met in an executive session. Now, I want to stress something. I recently made a video about a community college professor who was aligned with Antifa, and I said he should not have been fired. The controversy there, the difficult position, is that he's dancing the line, this Antifa guy, was dancing the line on whether or not he actually wanted to commit violence. But I believe he ultimately didn't get to that point. Now, look, I can't rehash everything I thought at the time of the video, but I will stress now. He was saying things like, I know who I'd like to hit with a rock or something. It's like, right, you're dancing the line, it is getting dangerous, but that's not a threat. So, look, man, I really don't like the escalation. This will just make things worse. This is going to inflame and enrage one side of the conversation because the dude tried to resign and the dude actually tried distancing himself. But it's never enough. So let people express themselves. So long as they're not committing crimes, this shouldn't be happening. Again, I want to stress the point I was making earlier that what is potentially good in this, a small little iota, is that people are having no tolerance for the culture war. But in the end, I think this will lead to escalation, so it's resoundingly bad. And again, this guy didn't do anything wrong. Look, if you identify as Antifa and you're not going around beating people, I have no problem. Like, fine, do your thing. If you're gonna, work at a job and you think Antifa is great and you talk about it all the time and you go to meetings, still don't care. You have a right to assemble. You have a right to your opinion, and this is insane. They say the township manager's decision was that we would remove the fire apparatus from the Bon Air Fire Company and shut them down temporarily until this can be resolved. Firefighting gear now hangs neatly arranged inside. The chief's vehicle still parked in the garage, and though there were people inside the fire hall, no one wanted to speak. There was a fire right here a few weeks ago. They just put it out, one neighbor said. It's sad. A 100-year-old fire company is shutting down. Even so, neighbors say they're comforted by the fact the township is served by 4 other companies, all within 2.5 miles of the Bon Air section. The closest is just a half mile away. So they still have a fire department, but not in their township. They're very reliable, so I feel very comfortable about that. But actually, I want to stress, a half a mile, hey man, that matters. That matters. This is ridiculous. So I get it. You have a fire department. But if a fire starts and they can't get there as fast as the other department, you'll regret it. You absolutely will. The president of the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners, Andy Lewis, released a statement on the issue saying, as individuals and public officials, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer to ensure that no tax dollars are used to support an individual or organization that is discriminatory in any way. And it wasn't. The dude was a volunteer. He was giving you his time. How absurd is this? Even when it comes to the Antifa professor guy, he was getting paid. So there's still an argument as to why the Antifa guy should have been fired for, representing the college, whether it was intentional or not. I still disagree. Let the people express themselves and let the families and the students decide if they want to attend that class. He never made any direct threats. So I'm trying to be balanced on this. I'm trying to make sure I operate on principles here, and I'm not going to play sides. But look how insane it is that they've actually gotten a volunteer fired. Well, actually, it's worse than that. Antifa apparently, I shouldn't say Antifa, but somebody tipped off the department or the city. And the dude's a volunteer, man. How crazy is that? So this is what they released. They said, Haverford Township announces the following changes to fire protection in the Bon Air section of the township. As background, on August 12th, Haverford Township officials received information alleging that a volunteer with the Bon Air Fire Company had been affiliated with an organization described as an extremist group. By who? God, it's time to stop this, man. By who? Because law enforcement didn't. The township immediately conducted an investigation into these allegations, including an interview with the volunteer. The volunteer admitted to attending several social gatherings. We get all this stuff. Let's move on. They go on to say, on August 22nd, the Bon Air Fire Company solicitor sent an email to the Haverford Township solicitor indicating that the board of the fire company met, discussed the situation, and found no basis for terminating the volunteer's membership in the Bon Air Fire Company. The email included no indication that the fire company would take any action whatsoever, because the dude didn't break any laws, man. You don't gotta like the guy, but didn't break any laws. Same with the Antifa dude. Now, I get it, though. The Antifa guy was getting paid, to work at the school, and that may have been bad for business, but this is a volunteer. That's how insane everything's getting. They say, the volunteers' participation in an organization described as an extremist group, and the Bon Air Fire Company's failure to address this matter conflicts with a public policy which includes ensuring that all persons are treated fairly and equally. No, it doesn't. The dude didn't do anything wrong, and you're shutting down the entire fire company. That is not a policy of treating people fairly and equally, and all benefits of citizenship. Given the fire company board's failure to act, the township is compelled to take action effective by closing of business September 4, 2019. The Bon Air Fire Company has been relieved of duty indefinitely. How insane. There's going to be a fire, and people are going to be waving and screaming at the fire company, and they're going to be shrugging, like, what do you want us to do about it? They go on to mention that there's other towns nearby within 2.5 miles. But I got to tell you, man, 1.5 mile away from Bon Air Station. It sounds to me like these other stations may have already provided service when needed. But is it worth the risk? That to me is nuts. You know what, man? I don't like the escalation. I don't like the constant street battles. But I also don't think this is the answer, because the dude was a volunteer who didn't do anything illegal. How can we you know what? It speaks for itself. They shut down the entire fire department because of one guy who was a volunteer. To me, this is crazy, you know? I don't know what, I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast, and I will see you all then.